This is a great day to celebrate amazing things that were done by our community and citizens. So we're going to continue on, and I'm going to invite up Assistant Chief Deputy Don Bladet and Victim Advocate Maylin Chong.
Most of us don't know how we will act in the face of danger. Thankfully, most of us will never be faced with circumstances of the kind of danger that Martina was faced with back in 2019. We may never know how strong or how not so strong we might react in the face of great trauma and great danger. But heroism is about ordinary people doing extraordinary things under circumstances none of us would imagine ourselves under. Today, Martina came with her family members and was wearing a mask, obviously because of our pandemic. She chose the Wonder Woman mask. And it's so appropriate because she is an incredible and wonderful woman who was much like a superhero back on the day that crime touched her and her family's life. Imagine being home in the sanctity of your own home with your family members, including 3 small children. Martina's a mom and a grandmother, when suddenly an intruder, an armed intruder, barges into your house, tells everybody to get down, starts threatening people, shutting windows, barricading the door, moving furniture, damaging property, and in tow, he has a 13-year-old little girl, incredibly frightened little girl with him. And you're there with your family. What would you do? How would you react? How might you respond? Well, Martina responded like Wonder Woman in every way imaginable. You see, this armed intruder had been physically abusing his longtime girlfriend for days. He had strangled her, he had beaten her, he had threatened her, punched her, and used a knife. He wouldn't let her leave their apartment. Ultimately, this brave survivor of domestic violence was able to leave with her children and call the police. Well, this enraged her abuser, enraged him. So he came up with a plan. His plan to get back at his girlfriend, who he had just beaten, was to kidnap her 13-year-old little sister, Diana. And that's exactly what he did. Diana was coming home from school, and the abuser pulled up next to her in a truck and tried first for her to get cooperatively in the truck. Diana knew this was not a safe situation, but ultimately this abuser grabbed her, put her into the truck, and drove her to a nearby park. At the park, he took Diana's phone and called his girlfriend, letting her know that he had her little sister. The girlfriend had the force of mind to call the police and to send a male friend to try and get her daughter, her little sister. This male friend came to the park and there was an altercation. At this time, Diana, a 13-year-old, sees a gun in the waistband of the abuser. She realizes the true danger of the situation as this abuser is unhinged. Ultimately, after the conflict, the abuser realizes there's probably authorities on the way. He gets the male friend to get back into the truck, orders him to drive at gunpoint, and has Diana in the truck. They're driving around Meadowview. There's a police chase starting, and he tells the driver to drive into this cul-de-sac where Martina lives. He grabs 13-year-old Diana and takes her with the gun into Martina's home through an open garage door. What happens then is what I described. The family is confronted with this armed intruder and a frightened 13-year-old girl. They are all captive. The home has now been in complete disarray. It's an incredibly traumatic experience for young children on up. Martina steps up as Wonder Woman. Martina calms the situation. She sees the humanity in this abuser, even in light of the circumstances that she is in. She tries to reach him. She counsels him. Over the course of an 8-hour hostage situation, Martina keeps her family and this young girl safe. She feeds the intruder. She prays with him. She tries to tell him there's hope. This is not the end. Knowing that this would protect her family, and knowing also that this would stop the intruder from possibly taking his own life. She did that during an 8-hour standoff in face of grave danger. Ultimately, she even negotiated the release of her family, and the intruder, the abuser, he let the family members go. Martina stayed. When he said that she could go, she said, no, I'm not leaving without Diana, the stranger, the young girl she had never met. She put herself in even more harm's way to protect a girl that had been brought into her house at gunpoint, no matter the consequences to her. She kept that girl calm. She kept the abuser calm. And when the abuser finally fell asleep, she took Diana and they snuck out. Ultimately, police had to gas the house, and the abuser was arrested. No one knew until that time that the gun that he had threatened everyone with was a BB gun. It was nonetheless just as dangerous a situation as it had been if it were a gun with more power and ammunition. Martina and nobody else knew that at the time that she took these grave risks. At the time, she was the Wonder Woman for her entire family and for this community and for this young girl, Diana, who was all alone and in an incredibly traumatic and frightening scenario. This abuser was prosecuted, and we know by virtue of the job that we do here at the district attorney's office that what happened that day when they were brought to safety was not the end of the story. That now Martina's faced with not only the trauma and having to heal from the circumstances that she and her family encountered that day, but also now to be involved in the court process. And this was during the COVID lockdown, when there were a lot of external pressure on all of us. But even through all of that, Martina was steadfast, cooperative, and compassionate. Not only did she want to make sure that Diana was okay, but she constantly asked about the abuser. She wanted to make sure he was okay too. She didn't interfere with the prosecution. She didn't want him to go to jail forever, but she also understood that the community needed to be protected and that something needed to happen. And she deferred to us to do our job, but she also showed great compassion and humanity for this abuser. She's been recognized by the by the Sacramento Police Department in a citizen commendation. And here today, we honor you, our Wonder Woman, for in the face of grave danger, you put yourself behind others, both people dear to you and someone you didn't even know, and even the person that was causing you harm. And for that, Anne-Marie, I'd like to present to you Martina for recognition as an outstanding citizen here in Sacramento County.
Sure, I'll say something. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I really don't feel that I deserve this award, but I'm very thankful to everybody that's here. and that felt that I deserved this recognition. I did this out of love for my family and for my humankind. It is only through that we can coexist. People do bad things every day, but that doesn't define them. Just like we make mistakes every day, they don't define us. So I thank you so much for this blessing, and God bless every single one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.